that's where I would pull up the Shopper Suite dashboard. Have you guys been using that at all? Here's what it looks like. You have your dealer here, right? You can click through to the dealership. Things that are important is tells you how much mail you have, when the fill date was going to be on that prior screen, so you kind of know when that fill date is going to be. Tells you if people have emailed yet or mailed yet, how they got there. The source is so important. You can start to see where all your traffic is coming from and how they got there. And then I sort by this R score. And then I tell them, I say, we have a relevancy score that is higher based on how they came in. If they came in from multiple devices, if they've been to the site multiple times, they get more and more relevant, so higher relevancy score. These high ones, you could basically put a sign up in the showroom, and kind of joke about it, put a sign up in the showroom that says, "Welcome Bayshon," because you know this guy's coming in, right? So he's been there.
What's the reason for the X's on the email to mail?
Hasn't been mailed or emailed yet. We probably just don't have a full record yet.
Have you found that dealers
located.
take this information and just look them up and try to communicate with them like directly?
We have access.
Not typically, because we're not dropping into the CRM. They would have to sit there and transcribe it or type
So,
it.
like based on Mark, they just put them in LinkedIn or in Google or whatever. You know what I mean? Do you find guys doing that versus waiting passively for them to come back?
I haven't heard.
So I made a call on Friday with Stewart Chevrolet, and he told me about another product that it's used that was catching people live in their website. And they were, it was the whole quandary of whether they should really go after these people who were actually live in their website, because you're gonna freak them out.
Yeah.
So there has to be like a whole thing about, just like where.
That's kind of where that question came
But
from.
like
the
why
stalker factor, right?
Right,
Yeah.
so like
They
there was
said
a.
that they don't, so go finish your story and they'll share mine, because they said that they don't want to do it, 'cause you're right, they don't like freak them out.
So that comes up. So they really want to, if this tool enables them to follow and track it and utilize what it is that they're doing to track the untrackables and find out where they're at, and then it gives them an ROI at the end with everything else that they're working on, where they have half these companies telling them they're bringing in all the leads, and then they want to charge them more or whatever. So that it's like a bottom line ROI, and then there's the ability to have that information. But most of the dealers I've talked to, and I haven't talked to that many, but the ones that I've talked to, they're just not going to be in there
Like that.
like that.
Yeah, most of them I don't think are going to use it like that.
Is there a way for us to just do a recap of the sources? Because that did come up in a recent
Yes,
meeting
yeah.
of mine.
No, yeah, I'll show you
Okay.
that. Quota is how much mail you have for the month.
Right.
Quota is how much mail you have for the month. Use quota is that. So if you hit your 350, there's people beyond that is what I think you're
Right.
referring
Right.
to. And then so they will be mailed the
That's
next
right.
time.
These
Yeah.
350
Or the people the next month. I think that they mail the people the next month. But this is why when you get into the dashboard and it tells you, here's how many missed mail opportunities you have.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to go over that. You have, number one, a built-in upsell tool. But number two, if you like it and you want to be mailing everyone, this is how many people are coming in that you could be mailing, so you don't run out and get past your quota.
That's, so
Yeah.
you
I
can
guess
get
that's-
more
So
money.
email.
That's a great point. You can get more money if you go back and say, look,
Yep.
we hit your quota already, but if you spend another $5,000, you can get this many more, and keep shoving.
So here's what I show. Let's just go through this and then I think I'll answer a lot of questions. So I show them this, I do that, I sort by the relevancy score, okay, right here. I go in and I say, because at this point they're probably asking about other retargeting and how this goes together. You have the conversation, well, this is new. This is new. And I say, here's a picture of their house, here's where they live, here's when they first came to the site, here's how many pages they went to, unique pages. When they were emailed up here, you see we checked with the Postal Service. We also see everything that they looked at. You can see she looked at a Nissan Murano, a Jeep Grand Cherokee, a Ford GT, a Jaguar F-Type. So what we know about buyers is that they're schizophrenic. They look at all kinds of vehicles. So the retargeting that you're doing right now, you're probably retargeting based on VDP pages, vehicle pages, and retargeting with offers and more of the same like vehicles, right? Yeah, most of the time. So what we know is that a very small percentage of people actually buy what they have been looking at, right? And so we think that there's some waste in that. Some retargeting is good, but this is how this is different as well. It has that why buy message, right? right? And we can reach them with why buy from the store, because they're looking at all kinds of stuff. You don't want the big differences between this and regular retargeting. Number one, why buy messaging? Because we know buyers are schizophrenic and people don't buy what they're actually looking at, right? So if you're retargeting them, you have to ask questions. How are you, what messaging are you giving them when you are retargeting them? Is it offers? Is it paid? You know, is it vehicles? Is it like vehicles? What is it?
I do everything. That's what he said.
You do everything. Okay, great. So what kind of material do you send them in
Rasha
retargeting? Just digital?
the king of retargeting.
Just digital retargeting?
Yeah, I'm all over. I call
Awesome.
my people. Once I don't even care who they are.
So the big difference with this is that we're using different technology, latitude and longitude technology, that identifies by where the person actually is, not mobile ID and IP, which is what most retargeting is. Those old forms that change can be broken really fast. You can lose the customer, right? Also, like for example, my computer usually thinks I'm in Texas because our company's based in San Antonio. So I'm on servers, my IP address is totally wrong, right? So I don't get the right ads there or relevant information there anyway, or either.
That's a good story.
What we're doing is latitude, longitude. That's what allows us to track people back to their house, where they live, and then show that screen and say, see, we cross-reference with the postal service, so we know the person lives there. It also eliminates the bot problem. I know that's a big thing right now, is bots with all of this. How much waste is there with bots, right? Oh yeah, I hear about that all the time. We talk about it all the time. We try to minimize it. Well, we're identifying actual people, marketing to people, rather than digital signatures. And when you're doing that, we know they live there, we know they're a real person, so it becomes a lot more efficient.
Yeah.
So some retargeting is good, but we are sending them mail because we can. We're sending them email and digital like you could probably do now, but we know they're people, we know where they live, we know where they came from, right here, and we can analyze the quality of clients that they are, and we can start to gain data on everybody that's coming into your store.
And they don't,
That's
you don't
what we-
necessarily pull all of that information off of one visit, right? You get, until you, like, there's a couple, it seems like some of those listings don't have names on them yet. So
Well, they're not until they're on the desktop.
well, that's what I'm saying. So
So they catch-
there's multiple
So-
layers of, I don't know if authentication is the right word,
Right,
but like,
so shoppers on the move right here, this means that they haven't been home yet, so we haven't cross-referenced it.
So they have to be at
so
their
you know
website.
who they are, you know that there is somebody on the site, and you're waiting until they get to their home.
Yeah.
And is that just a longitude, latitude, they look like they're in
So
a
this-
house
these
now
are the ones
versus
we don't know yet.
Versus a business office or a train station or an airport?
Mhm.
Okay.
So what also came up is they're looking at their websites as unique visits, and they're looking at from IP addresses. And what this is doing is it's talking about all the different devices that are in the same house. So 26,000 uniques is not really 26,000 uniques if it's by IP. We're doing households.
Or multiple devices, right? Yeah.
Multiple touches, multiple devices. That came up. I mean, there's a big question on the why do the retargeting or the email, and if you don't have to, you can use the tool for something other than that.
I would say that everybody has their own interests. So one dealer might not care about that, where another dealer
Right.
might say, I love the idea that it's a plug and play. I can retarget to people who are on my site. So I think you go through all of the benefits and you you ask the question to the client, which one appeals to you the most?
And it's a why buy. So the why buy versus the retargeting.
And it also seemed to me that all the retargeting efforts that they're doing feed into this. Because if they come back, you're tracking them on this now too.
Yeah, they're gonna get tracked in here, and that's why the duplication is okay too, because a why buy message is never bad. It's also why we don't claim 100% attribution with this tool, because we're a piece of the puzzle. We're activating a traffic area on their site.
Right.
We know that. We're just like convert it.
And
So-
yeah, a way to.
So it's okay if you've sent them pricing on a couple things, especially if it was wrong and it made them nervous about, because they're not really looking at that car and it was too high of a payment or something. You sent them a why buy message is always good. Why buy from the store? It tells you, you know that they're shopping your competition. You know that they've seen multiple people's pricing, right? What they need to know now is what's the difference if I buy from you, not just price.
True tier 3 role.
Right, exactly. And so from this screen, this is
That's
where
right.
you've got the live shoppers, addressable households that we've gained, how many people have been mailed, how many have been emailed so far, so we had emails for. Shoppers on the move are the ones that haven't gone home yet, so we haven't identified them yet. This is your 740 missed mail opportunities, so if you want to fill that up and not run out in the month, it quickly tells you how much additional budget you need to add the mail,
Oh, okay.
which is
That's
awesome.
That's
Easy
the
upgrade
difference
tool.
between the 1478 and the 738.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because we got
What
their
about
address.
emails on 705? Why is it only 705 emails?
This is how many emails we got.
Based on just
That's
the
cool.
layers of
Being
data
able
we
to find
gathered
our
over
data.
time.
Yep, yep. You have your attribution here.
That's a cool tool.
Yeah, so the other part, this is what you were talking about, Brandon, return on ad spend.
They come into the website then.
This is where you can start to see some efficiencies by everything a dealer's doing and start to learn.
All right,
There's
so I have
one
another
on the
question.
demo where they talk about life cycle of a customer.
That's the
this
next
customer
one.
50 days.
Yeah, two more tabs, then
If someone comes into the website,
Yep.
we mark them as someone that receives an email,
Yep.
we send it out, 15, 20 days later, they come back in. Are they considered a new opportunity, or are they considered someone that's already been on there?
already been on there.
So they will
Because
not.
see at the
send
top, you can do long ranges and look back 6 months. So if they come back to the site, it's gonna show that they keep coming back.
Add-
Now it says first time to the site, seen again.
So we won't send them.
Once they've been mailed and it marks the check, they've been mailed. Once they've been emailed, it marks the check, they've been emailed.
And that's just for the month. Does it happen again the next month?
I think they get retargeted.
So we retarget on the digital side up to the amount of impressions, up to the frequency. So
So they get one email and one direct mail, and then digitally until
Is
they
there
run
a-
out.
up to a frequency of 2 or 3, whatever the package size is. So you're not gonna, once somebody gets a frequency of 2 or 3 on digital retargeting, they won't be
They don't
retargeted.
overdo it with them.
No,
Unless
they
of
don't
course they
overdo it.
want to come back to it. He said like 3
And
months.
then those revisits, like she mentioned.
Good question.
Add to the relevancy score that they're.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, great question. This is the section, and this was the second to the end tab. I'll show you which one it was again, but that shows all of the sources of traffic. So there's a lot of things that we could talk about here. And some dealers want to look at this stuff, some don't. Most, the ones that I find say, I want you guys to be looking at this stuff every month and then just make recommendations to me, right? And give me 5 bullet points. It's like, cool. But it's like the data in the front end. I want to show you one time so you know what we're doing.
Right.
And then know that when I tell you something, it's legit, right? Like, I'm not making it up. I'm not making it up, right? So these are all the shoppers that came in, how they got there. And these are how many ultimately bought from coming in from those tools. So you had some email.
And is this is all name, cross-reference to their DMS system? Is that how all these?
Yes.
Okay.
And then service customers as well.
So when you're using this with IAC email, that email logo comes up, right?
So we are working on getting them to change their UTM codes as of right now. It's not showing up under email because they mark it iHeart Conquest, as you see on GA, Google Analytics. It says iHeart Media Conquest. We want them to put it under email. They have some issues with it, but we're testing it out with them. They're afraid that it's going to make it go to spam folders, and they're big on delivery. Obviously, we want the mail delivered. They think if they change the way it's sourced, it might be identified and go to spam. So
They're
we're gonna have
getting
to
a really
test it.
good open. That open that we get on the IAC is somewhere 13%. I mean,
Yeah, and we want that to show up here, but right now it's not. So good question. Eric.
So it's not even showing up in the.
I see some showing up in here. It would
So
be.
I went in there and saw it. I saw one of the reports.
I think it would be under referral
Okay.
because they're clicked through from someone else.
That's IAC.
I'll find it.
Nationally, how many dealerships are using this?
We're up to selling ourselves about 60. Stream, the company before us, has about 350 dealers on it.
Okay, so-
Somewhere around this.
It's
And this is
basically about
for Philadelphia,
400, just
so
say
it's mostly-
450
Yeah,
dealers
Yeah,
are
450.
members.
It's mostly East Coast, because they're in Philadelphia. That's why you haven't heard about it a lot out here, Streams in Philly. One of the other notes, if you ever need some backup on who our tech partners are, just an interesting kind of tidbit, is that Toyota redid their preferred website vendors. I don't know if you've heard about this. They used to have like 100 vendors that they could use for their websites, and it was all over the place. They've now narrowed that down to 7, and Stream is one of them. So Stream is now, they've been on the West Coast more because there's big Toyota dealers out here, but they're now going in and pitching themselves as website providers as well, approved by the OEM, and there's only 7. So it just shows how good they are and how quality they are, and they're the ones that come up with this tool. So
Stream is the technology owner,
yeah.
and iHeart is the.
And Stream is actually an agency in Philadelphia that we do business with. They spend about $3 million with us a year. That's why we wanted to partner with them partly. They've got Norm Reeves Honda in LA. They've got a bunch of dealers on the East Coast. Buy a ton of radio, and they also develop their visual.
Are they-
I think by the end of July, it'll be for general market. The volume is going to go way up when it goes to general market. So it's important we get our dealers on quickly ahead of that.
General, I don't understand what you.
Like
So
for any
like a
company.
pet store.
Because
Now start-
all company, think
Oh,
about, so
okay.
again, we're adding things that really fit with our story, right? Our number one story for radio is drive a ton of traffic to your website, right? From all over the
Identify.
place. So if we've been driving traffic forever, it's natural for us to put a conversion tool.
Track
Now we
your
can
traffic.
activate your traffic and convert that traffic and show you, and they're not gonna have DMS integration because they don't have that at stores, that kind of thing. But we'll be able to look at that journey, what pages they looked at, all the way down. You'll be able to see, like, just like when you see what cars we're looking at, you'll be able to see once they get to the buy page on the website, right? So it's gonna go general market. We have probably 2 more months, I think.
And right now, turnaround time is 3 weeks.
So what?
But that's also partly on
Imagine
purpose.
they would hire
They-
people too.
So let's address the turnaround time. So it's partly on purpose because they always want to start at the beginning of the month. For the way that they do their reporting, they pull DMS after the month. They want it to be a full month of data, so they don't have the partial month conversations. It's just the way that they're set up. That's how they want to do it. So if you're in there the 10th of the month, they're going to try to start the 1st of the next month. That's part of the turnaround time issue. And so they're queuing us. And I think that what we've been bad and they've been bad at communicating back and forth is that in their head they're going, we're not starting until the 1st of next month. In our head, we're used to programs where like I want to have on in a week or I want to have on in 3 days. And there hasn't been good communication. Instead, they just prioritize and get the things done they need to get done and push the other later. Then we think they're not responding, which really is just a difference in mentality of the way that they're setting it up. I think that's the main issue with Shopper Suite.